So I'm just going to go through a few things just to kind of make Cinema 4D a little bit zbrushy. Not a lot, but just a little bit. So I'm going to come in here, get a sphere. I'm going to subdivide it up to 250,000 there. And I'm going to bring in an art shader to make it look a bit better. And I'm going to do that from the content browser. And if you come into presets, sculpting, shaders, you see these art shaders there now. I'm just going to make one of these. I'm going to put that on my object here. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to use the wax brush here. And I need to change to that. And I've been messing with this a little bit already, so I'm just going to reset that. And I'll just show you what it looks like when you come in anyway. So we've come in here, we've got our wax brush, and this is what the wax brush looks like normally. So first thing I want to do is enable symmetry. I'm going to enable symmetry for everything, pressure and size. So now if I change between any of these, any of the pressure, size, and symmetry settings will be the same on all the objects. And under symmetry itself, I'm going to turn on X. So now I'm sculpting symmetrically along X. I want this wax brush to behave a little bit more like a zBrush. First I want to make the surface look more polygonally, which you get that look in ZBrush. So if I come into the sculpting layers, I'm in the sculpting layout here, and I just disable Fong. And you can actually see the surface quite well in here. So if I zoom in a bit, you'll see that a bit polygonally. If I decrease it, you'll see it a lot more. One thing I should point out here is that I am zooming in and out by using the Wacom tablet. So I've heard people say, how do I zoom in and out by using a Wacom? You can do that by setting your button, lower button or any button, top button, lower button on my Wacom to be the right mouse click button. And then you just hold down Alt and then you click that button and just move it up and down while your Wacom is hovering above the Wacom. So my pen is not touching. If the pen was touching, then it may rotate. But if you're just hovering above and you click it, then it will zoom in and out. And there's obviously an option in there to move it left and right. So I don't know how I did that, but I'm just going to move that back to center. So there's another way to move it left and right. Anyway, so I'm rotating around the center. If you want to rotate around a specific point, then you can go up to camera, up to display. Under navigation, you can switch to cursor mode. You can say if you just want to rotate around this point, you just alt click on that point, and it'll rotate around that point. Or we rotate around this point. But I'm just going to work with the camera in object mode. So I'm just going to be rotating just around this object itself. So now I've got this wax brush here, and you see it's too smooth. It's not really like a clay brush at all. So to do that, we need a stamp. So you can just drag a stamp off this. You can use the same one from ZBrush if you want, and just drag that into this slot here. I'm going to use 4D Publish Content View for this. I've got some stamps set up here, so I just single click on that, and now I can have a stamp. Now the stamps over here is still got fall off, and it's still looking smooth. So what we need to do is we need to enclose that stamp fully inside the enclose the image, the alpha, inside the stamp itself. And I'm going to turn off bilinear as well, and I'm going to use disable the fall off. So there's no fall off on there at all. So now this fall off is just not used, and I'm going to turn on follow. So now it'll follow my mouse, it'll rotate it as it goes around. So now you're going to get a more of a kind of a clay build up looking brush that you might see in ZBrush. I'm going to increase that again. Alright. Now, I don't know if I've already said it, but if you want to resize this brush, you can hold down Control and Shift and click and go left and right to resize the brush, or up and down to resize the pressure. If you don't want to use Control Shift or you'll assign them to something else, then you can just hold down R and it will do the pressure, the size, the radius. And if you do S, it will do the pressure there. So that was S for strength, I guess. So R, S, and Control Shift at the same time to do both, depending on how you start moving your mouse. Okay, so now you can also add that same stamp to the pull brush. So I'm going to do that here. So I've got the stamp and the stamps. And you'll get a different effect again there, but we need to do the same thing. Enclose. You can leave bilinear on. Bilinear is just how it interpolates across there. But since I don't mind if it goes pixely, I'm just going to disable that. Turn on fall off. Turn off fall off and turn on follow. Now this is like a stronger brush, much stronger. So we can decrease the pressure of this quite a bit. And it's pulling up the points along that, but it doesn't pull it up directly like a flat like the wax brush does. But you can build up the surface this way as well. But I particularly like the way the wax brush works. It feels a lot more like the zBrush style one, I feel. Now, something that people have been saying also is that the smoothing in Cinema 4D is too strong. So here I'm holding down Control to just dig this in. I just want to do this just to show the smoothing a little bit. So I'm just going to dig that in, and now by default, by default, the smoothing is set pretty high. So when you hold down Shift, it's going to smooth the surface. You see how there it's smoothed out everything around this. If I undo that, and if I come up to smooth, when you press Shift, what's actually happening is Shift is using the settings from the smooth brush. So here my settings were down at 15.3 for the smooth. If I pull that all the way up to 100, this might be what the default is when some people are loading in Cinema 4D. This is if you have link pressure enabled, it will actually use that pressure. It will change the pressure. So if I was on the wax brush here and we've got link pressure turned on, we come down, then it's going to use a pressure of 10.3. And if we switch to smooth, you'll see that it's also changed. So if you don't want that to change, you want smooth to be always different, then you actually need to disable this link pressure. So now I can have my smooth setting down set at a low value, and I can come to my wax brush. I can pull that all the way up. So now my wax brush is at 100%, but my smooth brush is only at 15. So smooth is only at 15, or 10.5. So let me just show you the effect if I had that at 100. So I'm at 100, come to my wax brush, I shift smooth. That's what will happen. Undo that, come to smooth, bring that down to a low value, go back to my wax brush, hold down Shift. Now you can see it's not doing as much for smooth. So that really is something important to remember, that perhaps it's not always a good idea to link the pressure, so that when you press Shift, your smooth value is also lower. And this should probably be changed in Cinema 4D. It should be changed actually so that the smooth never uses this link pressure. It would probably be a better option. So now I'm just going to leave that at a very low value and come back into my wax brush, and now I can start. I'll bring that down as well. So when you're using a Wacom tablet as well, the pressure value of the Wacom can be controlled using this FX setting. So you go in the FX setting, and this shows that pressure is being used to adjust the pressure. The pen pressure is being adjusted using this curve here to adjust this pressure value here. And that's a linear curve, so it's going straight up. That's what it's like by default. So a better curve is to actually click in here and a single click. I think you can delete them by control clicking. I'm not sure. I think I've just added it. I don't remember how to delete this extra value. But just having a slight curve just like that, and perhaps bringing this just in a bit, and maybe bringing that down a bit as well. So now the pen pressure is going to be a little bit more subtle, and this value is actually going to be the pressure between wherever this is here. So now this curve is going to be controlling between 0 and 61.6. So now you can have a bit of a better feel over the pressure. So you can have a light touch, and as you get harder, it's going to be a stronger one. Again, that's my light smoothing there. I'm going to bring my smooth up because I want to have a bit more power over that smooth. And I'll go back to my wax brush. And if you want your brush to actually be controlled, the pen pressure to control the pressure and the size, you can do that in the size FX. So you can turn on that there as well. Now I'm going to do it normally. I'm going to do a single click here, and that's what I wanted. So I got that down. So now if I do a light stroke, we're going to see a small. Now we notice that we're getting little dots here. Now on this one, we might not want it to be so dotty, so small. So I'll come into my FX setting in here, and I'm going to pull up this bottom one right here, just so that it doesn't go so small down at the end value. And now I'm getting a better brush there. So now if I do a small brush, and then as I increase the pressure, I'm going to get a harder, larger brush. And you notice there that the pressure is changing as well. So at the low end, there's not a lot. If I do it up here, there's not a lot of height. And as I press the button, we're getting a lot more height. Now the wax brush itself doesn't build up a whole lot when doing these kind of strokes. And this actually gets quite fun as well. If you want to use the radial symmetry, you can do some interesting things with this. So if I come into the stencil here, symmetry, radial, a few of these, and I'll leave that on point actually. You can use that to get some interesting patterns on your surfaces. But I'll just leave the radial off and come back in here. And I want to switch to the knife tool, because I've seen the knife tool had some issues. But first I just want to see if I can bring in some detail in here, and I'm going to turn off the FX for the size of this wax brush, because I don't actually want to change the size. Actually, I just want to leave that as it is. It's a default size. And I'm going to bring the size down so you can bring in your detail. Kind of building up some lips here. And I can hold down Control and carve that in a bit. And shift to smooth. Might make that a lot smaller. And then bigger, and then just smooth that out. Okay, I might want to come in and just pinch these lips in. So by default, if you're going to use the knife tool, let me just show what the knife tool does normally by default. So I'm just doing a light stroke here, and this is what the knife does by default here. And you can increase the pinch to make it pinch a lot more tighter. And you can increase and decrease the pressure as well, so you don't want it to push as much into the surface, then it'll push it less. And if you hold down Control, it's going to do the opposite and pull it up, so you're going to get these stripes, these points being pulled up on the surface there. Now one thing I've seen in ZBrush, and this is something I have not tried yet, so I just kind of mocked it up now. I made a stamp, and I actually made it in body paint. I just did a single dab, and I've added it to my content view here. So I just made this single stamp here. And what I want to do is I want to try using this as a stamp. So you just single click, or you can drag it in from disk and see how this behaves in here. So instead of using the fall off, let me just see what it looks like first. So first I'm going to disable the stamp. And I'm going to bring that up and just do a line. I need that to be, let's reset that back to kind of where it's, let's reset the whole thing. Reset it to 0.5. So I'm doing a stroke. I'll do one hard kind of stroke. So that's one hard stroke. And now I'm going to use my stamp. Come in here, content view again. I'm going to click on that for my stamp. And now I'm going to do the same thing. We'll see it just use just that point. It's very just using just the hard point. So this, I don't think this stamp here is the same as really what was in ZBrush. I think it had a lot more fall off going on. But let me just turn off the fall off of the brush itself. I'm going to enclose that stamp. It's going to be even less now. So this is a fail on my part, mainly because I think I'm using the complete wrong stamp here for this. But it doesn't matter. We're going to ignore stamps for the knife tool. But I think if you do use a stamp for the knife tool, just be good just to know if you have access to ZBrush and you use the ZBrush stamp itself, the alpha, just drag the alpha in and just see how that behaves. But you do have a lot of control with this knife. You can hard click to dig in, you can soft click to do a very subtle one, and you've got the same control with the FX settings for both size and pressure, and you can hold down control to bring it up to get these ridges as well. So if I wanted to bring this in here, I'll just come in and I'll do a light touch in there. Just a light touch, just to bring it in. Maybe a little bit just up here. And you've got control over this curve as well. So if you really wanted to make that kind of point looking stamp, you can do it a little bit with this here. So if I was to control click and bring that down, maybe change that like this a little bit. Let's just see what that looks like as far as a knife goes. So now you've got these quite hard lines coming through there. So if I was to bring that out just a little bit, maybe over to there, curve that a little bit. So you can get the look that you may want from ZBrush. You might be able to get a similar look to the, I think it's the DAM standard, but it might take a while to figure out what kind of presets you really need. And when you've got your stamp set up how you actually want it, and your knife is working exactly as you want it, you should just save it and just save it as whatever you want to call it. So if I did that there and clicked OK, now if I come into load, it's there, but this isn't really the right place to load these. Well, it's meant to be, but hopefully this gets changed at some point. That just puts every single one in there. Better just to come up, go to your content browser, and go to your user presets, and just load it from there. So if you have a pull brush selected and you're doing something over here, then you can double click on that. It'll load in your preset, and now it'll work the same as it did before. So just come into your user Sculpt Brush presets once you've made them, and just grab them all from there, and it sets them up to be exactly as they were before. Okay, so I don't think I need to do any more on this. I think if you just come in, use the wax brush with a stamp, and play around with a lot of the settings, you may be able to get a lot of the look and feel of things that you're wanting to get from Cinema 4D that you may be familiar with in ZBrush. Not really doing anything here. So right now it's building up quite a lot. That's too much for what I'm actually wanting to do there. So I just need to come in, bring that down. Oh, that's right. There was one other thing, the grab tool. So if I get the grab tool and I do a deformation out here, so if I click and drag, so that's going to be following the mouse around. Now, the grab tool has direction under here, but if you want to, the two most common ones are mouse and normal. So if you want to switch between the mouse version, following the mouse, and just switch to doing the normal, then all you need to do is just hold down hold down Control and click, and it's going to do the normal of the surface. So by holding down Control, it'll restrict it to the normal. So if you want to do some horns, just go Control, click, drag, and it's going to do it exactly at that location. Now, one thing I noticed was, in an example, was that smooth was too much on these edges. So again, if the smooth is too much, that is just the smooth tool settings. So we've got this down to 36 there. So if I click shift on here now, you'll notice it's just smoothing it, and it's not taking away any of that volume out there. It's just smoothing it. But what I think a lot of people have when they use Cinema 4D for the first time is this smooth is all the way up, and they're probably linked pressure, and then you come in here and you smooth, and it might be starting to pull it away. See how it's starting to pull away the surface there? It's pulling it down. So just remember to unlink the pressure and bring down the smooth to something low, and now you'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to smooth things out without really pulling away any of that detail. So again, here I can smooth all this out, and I'm not really losing any surface detail. It's not moving anything away. So I think that will do for now. Give me feedback and see what how you go with those, and if there's any settings that you want to know or know more about, then just let me know. There was one last thing that I'm going to actually have a look at. Now it was the Sculpt Symmetry. So before I do that, I'm going to turn off Symmetry here. I'm going to unlink it as well. I'm going to turn it off. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to get the Erase tool, and I'm going to delete a whole lot of stuff. I'm going to leave a bit of rubbish. And now I want to pull this across to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my mask tool, make sure I've got back faces turned on. I'm just going to draw a big old mask about there. And now I want to pull all these changes across to the other side. So to do that, all I need to do is come into the Sculpt Symmetry and go Symmetry, X-axis. We've got the X-axis there. And I want to bring across the masked content. So that's been masked. So let's bring across the masked content. So it's going to bring all that mask detail straight to the other side. Now you notice that it's messed up here, but that's because the mask didn't go all the way through. So let me just undo that. And let me close that. I think it might have been because X-axis was still on. If we got back faces turned on, I draw my mask again. It hasn't selected through to the back, and I do not know why. Because I had the wrong setting. That's for back face sculpting. We're not sculpting on any back faces. These are all front facing. I need to enable fill back faces. Just a rookie mistake there. So now I do my mask. Let's get that a bit better in center. You could do this from the center line. It doesn't really matter. So it's going to bring across everything that's been masked across to the other side. So you may end up with a little bit of funny stuff at the back if you had some strange sculpting going on in the back there. So I have this, and I go Sculpt Symmetry, and I go Mask Object. And it's going to bring across everything that's masked. It's going to bring it across. And anything that isn't that is masked on this side is just not changed. So everything's looking okay there. That's looking exactly the same. Now, if we didn't use a mask, let me just undo that and clear that mask. If you didn't use a mask and you want them to be equal, so you want to have this content and that content. So let me just come down here first, and with the pull brush, I'm just going to draw myself a little thing right here. So we want these two sides to be equal. So we want all this content to be on that side, and we also want this thing to be on the other side. So all you do is just click Equalize. And that will equalize it out. It will kind of average out the material on both sides. So now you've got that bump's got a little bit smaller because it's averaged it out with its sides on the other side. But it kind of allows you to get an equal, it equalizes across the symmetry, which is what it's doing. Okay, and lastly, there's these settings up here. So they also work with masking. And what you can do first is, with nothing selected, you can go Mirror Object. And that's going to take everything from the positive axis over to the negative. So it's taking it from here over to there. If we want to go the other way, if we want to take it across to the positive side, we go from here to there, then you choose the other one, go Mirror Object, and it'll bring it across. So it's just copied it straight from there to there. And we can do it the other ways as well. So let's do it across Z. It had no content, so we go that way. And that's what I was expecting. We get it on the other side as well. but it works with the mask as well. So what I can do is with the mask, I can come in here, and let's just leave that back faces off. I can say, I just want to mask. Well, first I'll come in, I'm going to come in with the erase tool, so I got a little bit more erased. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to mask with the mask tool. Lost it there for a second. I want to bring in this across, just this bit here. So I have that selected, and I go mirror object across the X. I had that logic around the wrong way. Anything that masked is not touched. So if I invert that mask and go mirror object. No, I had it right the first time. Invert mask. So what happens is, if you mask something, then this content is not going to be changed. So what a better example is if I come in here and we just get all these lips here. So we want all that lip to be masked. This is a better example. And I will take off this here. So now we got it. So now I want this to be preserved. I want this to be bumpy and this to be flat. I don't want any of that changed. So you paint where you don't want it changed. So this is not going to be masked. Everything else is going to be brought across as good as it can. So now you go mirror object. And now we've got it. Now it's brought across everything, but you see here how it's left these parts untouched. It has not masked those. So when I clear that mask, anything that was sculpted in this area has been retained. It hasn't destroyed it. So that allows you to selectively choose pieces that you want to mask across or preserve. You can think of it either way. So you can think of it, if I want that and that to be the same, but I want to make sure this is kind of symmetrical, then we invert it. Now all this is going to be masked and made kind of symmetrical. So we just go mirror object. And now it's kind of tried to, well, it has brought it across, but anything outside of here hasn't been touched. So I can go clear mask, and you see here, nothing here has been touched. It only brought across just what was in here on this side, and it flipped it across to the other side. So I hope that all makes sense there. And obviously you can mirror the masks themselves. So if you had a mask, let me just clear that. If you had a mask up here and you wanted to mirror that across, you can just click mirror mask, and now you've got that side mirrored as well. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there for now. I think that covered a lot of the things that I saw in the video, and yeah, I might make another video using these techniques to actually sculpt up something up in another time.